First of all, the most important part of the new technology is the fact that every one of your students has a cell phone, and that cell phone has really empowered them not only to make phone calls, to access the web, and what we've seen in the United States, of course, is it's transformed the process. So I think that this conference is really a very historical moment in Saudi Arabia history, because I think what you can see is how important it's going to be for the reform to continue. And the students here, I think, are extremely bright, and what I found was when people say, why doesn't the West tell the story the way it is? The beauty about your students is they're the next generation that's not going to depend upon the West to tell the story. You're going to be telling your own story with the new technology, and that's a very positive development. Really what the new media has really established is that everybody can have their own television station. Everybody will be able to post it on YouTube, or you have your own reference to another platform. So everyone is a journalist. Everyone can actually send messages and pretend that they are a journalist. I think the real issue is you have to have a public that has strong critical skills to be able to think through, well, what arguments are backed by facts? But I think the notion that someone is going to control this new technology is really hard to control, because you can tell your kids at home, I don't want you to make that phone call, but unless you take that phone away from them, they can go in and SMS or whatever. So a part of it, I think, is just understanding that with new technology, there's the ethical responsibility, there's the critical thinking skills approach, and that's why what you're doing here at King Saud in preparing this generation, I think, is not only to be people who use the new communication, but use it wisely, use it judiciously, critically, and preserve the part of Saudi culture that's so unique and I think so precious to people here. We've really entered a new era in that people have to be taught at home and in the school, as I said, what critical thinking is all about. It's learning to drive a car.
It's a kind of culture?
It's a kind of culture, and it's a culture in which no longer can you sort of contain it because everybody has access to it. So if everyone has access to it, you have to teach them very carefully that yes, you can use this, but it can be used as a positive force or a very negative force. But I think a key is it truly has flattened the hierarchy of communication. It's no longer downward from the top down. It's really basically from the bottom up. And it's, as you can see right now, you and I talking about this, you as a journalist and as a professor, me as a professor, we're trying to figure out how do you control this? And that's the new issue. It used to be, how do we affect the top? Now the top is wondering, how do we control what's going on at the bottom? Well, I think, first of all, it shows the leadership that you have at the college. I think that you have a president, you have a king of the country, but you also have the leadership throughout the mass communication in college that has been very, very open. You brought in scholars. There's been frank and open discussions. I think it's this type of public diplomacy, exchange, not at the governmental level, but at the people level, that's going to enhance the fact that all of us share common values. There are differences, but I go back to the United States, and this is my 8th or 9th trip to the kingdom. I go back now with a more complex view of what Saudi Arabia is about. We cannot no longer depend upon what the media tell us. We're living in an age where with this new technology, we can experience it. And so I'm going to go back, and I think that King Saud University has done something that we haven't seen in the United States. That is, they have brought in world scholars to talk about what the change is going to impact, not only for Saudi Arabia, but for the world, because we're all going through a transition. And this is, I think, the beginning of the next era.